Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Kings of the North. My name is Fear Dragon, and I will be joined very shortly by the one and only Tempo Starcraft. But he is going to be running a little bit late. I'm very much looking forward to having my wonderful co-caster join us. But we're going to be starting off with the round 3 of Kings of the North. It's going to be a pretty fun day today. We got a lot of good matches starting up, starting with PuCK versus JimRising. Later on, we're going to be hopping into Jon Snow versus Semper, and going to be finishing things off with, I believe, BioIce versus Buster. But let's take a look at the standings page for those who have not been following Kings of the North. I want to let you guys know what has been going on throughout the weeks so you guys can see how well everybody's been doing in Kings of the North, because we've had a lot of really cool results lately. So first of all, you guys can see on the standings page that Masa currently sitting with 4 points right now, as he has actually had a 2-0 versus Jig and a 2-1 versus Peely. Now, remember, the way it works is every single win that you get, every game win that you get, counts toward 1 more point for you. And losses won't take away points or anything, but of course, you're giving away points to your opponent. It's not about how many series you win, it's about how many individual games you win. Scarlet's also going to be tied up with Masa, actually technically a little bit ahead, having 2-2-0s versus Suppy and Semper. Is going to be playing out versus Masa tomorrow in tomorrow's broadcast. So that's going to be a really fun match. We have Neve also sitting with 4 points, having dropped 1 map to PuCK. A very hard-earned point for PuCK, as he's actually sitting way down in the standings at exactly 1 point, the only player with 1 point. I mean, it's a very valuable point versus Neve. I mean, just the recent winner of WCS Montreal. Talking about this particular match, I mentioned PuCK. We have PuCK sitting with 1 point, with 1 game win versus Neve, but ended up losing to Suppy 0-2 in some pretty close and fun matches. Going to be playing versus JimRising now, who's sitting with 2 points, just 1 point ahead of him. JimRising lost 0-2 to Jon Snow, but managed to get a 2-0 over Buster. And these are going to be the final matches for the seeding. So this is going to be a very important match for both of these players. Really big opportunity. Really looking forward to seeing how things are going to go. But my man Tempo, he's finally here. How you doing today, Tempo? How you feeling?
Snap. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
I'm like super low. Good. I'm good. But not having a good day though, man. I'm hoping this is gonna make it better.
Dude, you know what? We got so many awesome StarCraft matches here at Kings of the North that it can only go uphill from here. But I do want to remind you guys, before we get started with our first series of the day, again, PuCK versus JimRising, as Kwame, you go ahead and get into this lobby and everything and log into StarCraft, that we have some wonderful sponsors that make Kings of the North possible. Be sure to check them out during all the breaks and everything. First of all, big thank you to Chairs for Gaming. If you guys are interested in getting some of these wonderful DX Racer chairs that both Kwame and I have, you guys can check them out. Tempo and I, both nerds at heart, sit in our chairs a lot throughout this day. And of course, I think that we are pretty good people to vouch for chairs that we sit in for like 8, 10, 11 hours a day sometimes. And,
seriously. I mean, honestly, if I could have, I would have actually rolled it over to DreamHack Montreal, but it seemed like a little bit too long of a trip to roll over in a chair. But, you know, I bet if I put my mind to it and I wanted to, it would have made it.
You know what? I think I would have done the same thing, but the shipping cost of taking it to Montreal probably would have been a little bit expensive.
Oh, no, I'm talking about rolling down the highway with it.
Oh, just rolling down. You know what? It rolls so smoothly that you could probably get there very comfortably. Although it'd be a bit of a long journey.
Exactly.
But of course, big also thank you to Aces ROG. If you guys are interested in picking up any kind of hardware or tech to run games like StarCraft or even some of the latest and greatest games, check them out. They got all kinds of stuff, laptops, monitors, etc. And also a big thank you to the Matcherino. You guys are interested, use the promo code KOTN4. You guys can add $1 to the Matcherino page without having to add a single cent of your own money. But of course, if you're willing to contribute yourself, then feel free to just go ahead and hop over to the Matcherino page. You can type !Matcherino in the chat. It'll send you a link straight to the Matcherino. But here we go, Kwame. We're getting started. Game number 1, PuCK versus JimRising on Abyssal Reef. How you feeling about this?
No, I'm feeling great about it. Just even seeing PuCK this last weekend, he played incredibly well, right? But he hit a brick wall that is Scarlet twice. and that was why he wasn't able to get on through. So, you know, it was really sad to see my boy, you know, PuCK. He was really, really positive about it. But, you know, sometimes somebody has your number, and I think we were talking about it actually at the event about how, like, you know, just Scarlett had his number. She was playing incredibly well too, but even she wasn't able to overcome the eventual winner of the whole tournament.
Indeed. But as you said, this guy down here, in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Protoss player representing Root Gaming. Give it up for PuCK. And who, despite not quite getting the super duper deep run I was hoping for at Montreal, he had a sick run, like you said. I think he actually took down some amazingly good players, including adding Lambo to his hit list. So his PvZ is on point.
Exactly, yeah. But this guy over here in the top left-hand corner, he is repping himself as well as all of Mexico. It is JimRising.
Former teammate of PuCK as well, as he used to be on Root, but ended up leaving. I think that he was starting to pursue sort of some of his own stuff, becoming a commentator for Copa America and all the Mexico streams, or I guess the Latin American streams. He's been pretty active in that sense, but it's cool to always still see him active in his own tournaments and stuff. He plays in Ladder Heroes, he's been playing Kings of the North, and he's still very much in form.
Yeah, and he streams a lot too. Oh, maybe
okay, but we've got a little bit of a pause over here. Looks like PuCK just getting a few issues resolved. Of course, you want to make sure that you're playing in absolute peak condition. It's been a little while since PuCK, I'm sure, has been home since he was at Montreal. And maybe his setup wasn't quite there, as you have to unplug and replug in your keyboard and all that stuff. But I think
all right,
we're gonna get started. There we go. Players are ready to go. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. PuCK already being very annoying with a pretty early probe scout, looking to try and deny a natural expansion from going down nice and early on. But JimRising already going for the pool pretty early on.
Yeah, he's going for the gas pool style. So if there were to be some kind of a cannon rush or something, he would be a little bit more prepared for it. But in this matchup, an earlier gas and an earlier pool when... Okay. So yeah, I was going to say, it usually can mean that he wants to get a bit aggressive with it, but you don't usually see very, very early aggression, except for like Baneling Bus nowadays. I've seen a couple of those.
And JimRising is the kind of player who would look to get aggressive, right? Whereas I almost feel as though PuCK is the player I don't expect to do something like a cannon rush or a forge first opening. He's the player that a lot of people always pin as, hey, this guy likes to open up more or less the same way most games.
Yeah, no, that's PuCK for you. You know, a lot of the times you'll practice something, get really good at it, and then pretty much master it to a T. So we'll see how he decides to go. We saw him actually do some really, really weird stuff the last time we watched him. I think you might have been on your way to DreamHack, but me and Poke Bunny were trying to make sense of a game that he played. And he just kept making immortals. He did not stop making immortals, and he just kept going. And I asked him, I'm like, yo, man, were you onto something, or were you just kind of memeing around? He was like, I don't know, dude. I kind of just like had this feeling of once I stopped, you know, like once I popped, I couldn't stop. Like it was like Pringles or something. Yeah. And he just kept doing it. He was just making like 3 immortals at a time. And then Suppy ended up going for mutas and getting them. But
oh, yeah. Immortals, Hardened Shields. It's great for absorbing that muta damage, but not a lot else after that. You can't really attack the mutas. You kind of just eventually die.
Exactly. So he said that it was kind of a one-time random thing. It wasn't like he was trying some whole new style or is ahead of the meta here. But yeah, we got something that you don't usually see that often, and that is the Lings getting into the main. Now the speed is done. They can actually be really annoying here. But I think the Stalker and the Probe should be able to take it out, but he got the scout that he needed.
Yeah, manages to kill off both of those Lings as well, which is definitely nice for PuCK, as sometimes those Lings can just start running around, running rampant, but still losing a Probe is going to be very annoying for PuCK. He's going to try and counteract his own damage with this Adept on the other side of the map, but not really finding too much damage. JimRising's defense being on point.
Yeah, super quick, turning that drone into the Spore Crawler, but it is coming to be that time where you would go for the Spore Crawler if it were to be an Oracle opening or a DT opening. So he saw the Twilight Council. Yeah, it could be a DT follow-up, but he at least knows now that it's not going to be until the Dark Shrine is done and that the Warp Prism is all the way across the map. So even if he goes for it, I think he can kind of get away with making more drones before he actually puts down the spores. And now you see it go down for real.
Yeah, exactly. If you are up against an Oracle opening, you want to have those spore crawlers done by around 4:05, 4:10. But against DTs, you can wait until almost close to like 4:45, 5 minutes. So it's an extra 45 seconds of mining with that drone. That's an extra 50 minerals, and those minerals do add up.
Indeed, they do. So very, very tame opener so far, but this is very different that PuCK is going to be going for a Twilight. Well, we already said that, but the Templar Archives is going to be the follow-up, not the Dark Shrine. So
this is interesting.
Yeah, a little bit more gas investment to get those Archons out, but it also means that he can start Storm a little bit earlier if he's expecting it to be Ling Hydra. But it's not going to be Ling Hydra, Ravi. It is going to be Roach Ravager. Most likely with Banes, maybe, if he decides to add that into it.
This is really interesting. He's warping in a lot of Zealots as well, which really makes me think charge, right? By all means, this looks a lot like it's going to be a big charge-led Archon attack, but there is no charge researching. There's no charge that was researched, and he's going for a third. Do you think this is just going to be an eventual charge with maybe a fast storm or something?
Yeah, I think charge would not be out of the question. I do remember him doing something like this before, but then he never ended up getting charged, and we thought that it might have been an oversight or maybe it was a mistake. But already dropping down a Robotics Bay makes me wonder exactly what he, like, you know, usually you pick a certain AoE, right? Like Templar Tech or Robotech.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a bit intriguing.
Oh, but the third base under attack from these Lings. Double-footed overcharge, not going to be enough to save this. Although the next is just, oh my god, the building health is so unbelievably low, but he barely managed to save it.
Zergling blood. Yeah, there's the ring of Zergling blood around it, but on the other side, Archon drop is going to follow it up. And JimRising is going for a Spire, which is a pretty good idea, especially if he's going to expect it to be Charge Lot Archon. So Spire can be really good, right? Like the Forge is done, so we can get some cannons. But wow, the amount of drone damage being done here is pretty insane. Because if you look at the third,
yeah, even without charge, these Zealots are actually putting in a lot of work, taking out these Lings, but also occupying the rest of the army, while the Archons got 10 workers worth of damage done.
Wow, yeah, really impressive. You know, you look at the units lost, and JimRising already up to the 2K mark, and PuCK about 850. So yeah, PuCK making use of it without charge, and then he decides to get charged. Archon drop in the main is going to scout the Spire, so that's also a really good indicator of what is to come next.
I think the fact that there's only 4 mutas on the way really just goes to show you how much economic damage has been done. It's not because of the gas that JimRising's lacking, it's the minerals from all those drones he's not only lost, but also all of the minerals that he just hasn't been mining because his drones have been pulled off of mining. He even had a couple of idle workers over by his natural. It didn't seem like a lot, just 3 workers, but when you only have 43 workers, every single little bit counts. It's slowing down his mutas so much.
Especially because you had to invest into getting roaches in order to deal with the Archons. So, yeah, these 4 mutas, they're going to be able to eventually maybe kill the War Prism. That's not even a guarantee with this Archon here.
Oh, Archon's actually pretty low, though. War Prism going to be able to force it back a little bit, try to get into a better position, but Archon, okay, some nice micro coming out, but ends up losing the Archon.
All right, well, that's also going to make JimRising feel a little bit better. But now he has to do something with this force that he's used to defend, while PuCK is already going into triple Stargate. So during all of that, buying time with the Archon flying back, we have triple Phoenix production, and there's going to be more Phoenixes than mutas, it looks like, eventually.
I'd be surprised if we end up seeing JimRising, especially after seeing these Phoenix, make any more mutas. You know, this is the point where I think you just say, okay, let my opponent overcommit to the Phoenix, and maybe I can just get him with a big ground tech switch. But, oh god, losing every single one of the mutas is a very painful loss. Even after killing 15 workers, which is really good damage, I'm not gonna lie, but
yeah,
is it enough?
15 workers is really good, but I mean, just look at the worker count, right, Ravi? You were talking about just how much Jim has been struggling. 57 probes to 50 drones is not where you want to be here. 3 base to 3 base in a PvZ matchup at the 9-minute mark.
Oh god, and he's struggling now to actually even just clean up the War Prism harassment. The Phoenix are starting to come in, picking up the Queens, doing even more damage. GG gets called, and PuCK going to be taking game number 1. Tying himself up right now in points with JimRising at 2 points apiece.
Yeah, man. That's pretty sick.
Hmm.
Uh, just really an interesting build that PuCK was going for, and then like JimRising was trying to
Hmm.
respond to like what he scouted, and then PuCK just seemed to be able to buy enough time, good micro, do sick economic damage, and then just be a step ahead.
Yeah, I actually really wonder what was going through Jim Rising's mind during that, because you scout the temple archives and it could be one of two things, right? Either one, he could be not researching like Storm or anything like that, and he's going for. I mean, at least this is what I would be imagining. You're thinking, oh, is my opponent go for a really fast Storm tech, and
Hmm.
maybe also going for charge or something along those lines, or are they doing something just hyper aggressive right now? No Storm, just get out Archons and get out a lot of Zealots, because the DT tech, you can get out Archons with those, but they cost a lot more minerals, so it takes away from your Zealot count. And I
Yeah,
guess what we saw was like kind of neither. It was Archon drops leading into a big charge that Archon attack. It was kind of this really interesting mix.
it really was, right? You know, you don't usually see it that often like that, but hell, it ended up working out for him, and he had enough gas in order to transition into triple Stargate. Since after that, he didn't really make any Archons after that, right? Like it was mainly just to do the
Yeah.
drop. Didn't research Storm. He even dropped on a Robo Bay, like, and he was making disruptors. So like,
Yeah. He
he
was
seemed to be
ready.
doing pretty good for himself.
And I think one of the big things is that build, I don't necessarily think that Jim Rising's reaction was super poor or anything. I actually, in a lot of ways, I like the Spire tech. But
Hmm.
the one caveat there is that Warp Prism, the Archon drop, did way more damage than it was supposed to. And maybe it was just because the Queens are out of position. Maybe Jim Rising just didn't make the units early enough to respond to that because he was going for this faster Spire tech. But for whatever reason, Jim Rising took an exceptional amount of damage. So when the Spire finally did finish, he could only make 4 mutas. If he had been able to make immediately and surprise PuCK with 10, 15 mutas, which he had enough gas for, he just didn't have the minerals for, he could have immediately sniped off that Warp Prism. He could have immediately gone across the map before the triple Stargate finished up. And I think this game looks very different in that situation.
Oh yeah, like I agree with that. Like it's just one of those how the game goes, right? And
Mm-hmm.
PuCK is known for just his execution. And even if JimRising knew that it was coming, he scouted it. It didn't really help out, you know. Like you still have to end up defending it. And that was kind of like what I was talking about. PuCK, you know, he gets really good at something, and then you know that it's coming, and then boom, still losing 10 workers, still losing 16 workers out of nowhere, and then like, it doesn't even matter in the end.
All right. Well,
Oh,
interesting change of events. We have PuCK, who switched from his usual name, PuCK. He's now playing on another account called Puff.
Puff.
And I don't know if this, I don't think this is the case, but it's, you know, PU capital FF Puff,
Mhm.
which reminds me a lot of how Rough capitalizes
Yeah, I was gonna
his
say.
name. But I think that Rough has a capital R as the first letter, whereas PuCK is lowercase p. So maybe it's not that. Maybe he's just sticking true with PU capital C capital K. So the PU is lowercase, the last 2 letters are uppercase. I think that's what he's going for.
I don't even. Yeah, I don't even know if we're looking too far into it.
Yeah, you know what?
maybe
There are
maybe
so many
FF is for
possibilities.
force field, like PU force field. Like they, man, force fields stink.
Hopefully it doesn't stand for forfeit, man, because we are hopping into
No.
game number 2. PuCK able to tie up his map score with his opponent, but we'll see if he can just get a bit further ahead as he spawns up here in the top right-hand corner of the map. Green Protoss player from Root Gaming. Give it up for PuCK, aka Puff.
Maybe he's a Puff main in melee.
I believe it, man. He would actually be
He would be.
a
He would
great
be.
Puff main. He
Yeah.
would be a great Puff main.
In the bottom left-hand corner, though, representing Mexico, it is JimRising. That boy. A little bit salty after that. I don't know if you were paying attention to the lobby, but definitely
Oh, boy.
not like
Well,
salty, but you know, JimRising
yeah.
salty.
JimRising salty. Oh boy. Well, just a reminder, guys, that JimRising beat Buster 2-0. But again, the important thing about this is that these points that we keep talking about for seeding in the kind of playoff season, which is going to be starting up next week, by the way,
Mhm.
it's top 8 go to the winners bracket. And of course, that's going to be seeded by however many points you ended up getting and all that good stuff. We have a bunch of tiebreakers depending on who you beat. I won't go into the complicated details of that. But the bottom 4 seeds are going to go straight to the losers bracket. Now, this is, when we say the playoff bracket, this is going to be the same bracket played at the offline event, but only a certain number of players are going to make it to that offline event. So starting the losers bracket is never going to be a comfortable position.
Oh, yeah. No, it never is, right? And it's just one of those things where if you can avoid going there and just play well here, then you kind of save yourself a big headache later down the line when, you're fighting for your life there. So we did get that hatchery out by JimRising, by the way. First, not going to be a pool first or anything like that. And it wasn't even like he wasn't able to really do any early aggression, right? Like, I guess the real benefit of him going pool first was that he was able to get his lings out, and they actually got into the base of PuCK. So that was like the saving grace, I guess, but that's never guaranteed either.
Yeah, that was a bit surprising. The stalker just slightly out of position because I think PuCK was starting to get a little bit aggressive with the stalker, trying to pick off an overlord or maybe find some of the lings, but lings ended up getting the big run by, like you were talking about, to get that great scat out. I wonder how JimRising is going to play in this game, because oftentimes you end up seeing players do something that's a little bit out of the ordinary in one game, and the follow-up game, their opponent ends up trying to play a little bit more reactive, and they say, okay, well, now I know you just did that. Is that something you're doing multiple games in a row, or is that just a one-off build you threw at me?
Yeah, it's kind of tough to answer if you are JimRising, because like in a best of 3, anything is possible, and something like that wasn't even really that weakened when it got scouted. So he had the right response. You go for roaches usually against Archon drop. And you should be able to take minimal damage there, but in PuCK's case, maybe he'll do it with DTs this time, or maybe he'll do just a straight up all adept all in. I'm wondering where he wants to go, because he's going for that Twilight again here, Ravi, and yeah, JimRising is going for what seems to be a standard Zerg style without Overlord speed. So the scout is not going to be. Oh my! I think it's going to get away.
God.
The Overlord, you got to make it, bro.
Yeah, but now PuCK knows where that Overlord is, and not only that, you mentioned no Overlord speed on the way. That Stalker's going to make its way back to the main base, and I imagine it's just going to be camping out by that top left-hand area in the main. He may be able to deny the scout onto the Twilight Council, which is researching charge this game. This is a different opening, but
wow,
JimRising, he may not see this coming.
No, he might be in a bit of trouble if he doesn't realize when it's going to hit. Because if you try to just make a few units in order to try to deal with like an Archon drop, or just defending your third against DTs or something like that, or you just only make Spore Crawlers in order to deal with an Oracle, then you're going to not have enough units. So I think his main goal here is going to be to check for the third timing of PuCK. So if he's able to notice that it is a bit late, then he can kind of stop droning around like 46 or 44. Get ready for some kind of big attack that PuCK is looking like he wants to go for, but I don't think it's going to be the end, because he's taking double gas as well at his nat.
Oh, man. I think like even the Spore Crawlers are a really good reveal that JimRising just has no idea of what's really coming. He's seen the Robo, but he doesn't know, are there 4 gateways in a Twilight Council with a Dark Temple or a Dark Shrine on the way? Is he going to need detection for the DTs? He's pretty sure at this point that there's no Oracle really out, but yeah, it's definitely going to get a bit dicey here.
Yeah, this is a situation where you just have to play in the dark. I mean, I don't think he can get in there. Maybe if he makes that Overseer, like from that Overlord that was there, but by the time he sees what's happening, the attack should already be hitting. So he's just going to have to kind of just hope for the best here. And what he's doing now is actually good. Getting roaches out, getting roach speed. So without even knowing it, at least he's equipped to do so.
I think he's actually doing exactly what you said. He's identified, you still don't have a third base. At the 5-minute mark, his Overlord was pooping out the creep and saying, you know what? You've got to be going for some kind of attack. And here coming the charge loss, immediately sniping off one of those queens, but charge has already been utilized. Oh, I like that pickup on the War Prism. These Zealots on the low ground, or I guess in the mineral line, are going to get charged back in a second. But PuCK, he loses a few Zealots, gets a bit of damage done, kills off 2 workers, and is going to keep a majority of his units alive.
Yeah, and surprisingly enough, JimRising did make it up to 59 workers here. So as long as he doesn't take a lot of damage here, I think he's going to be in a much better spot than he was last time. The third base was pretty late from PuCK, and JimRising didn't overcommit to roaches just yet either. So, like, how many workers were even killed there? 4. So 4 were
Yeah.
killed total.
Okay,
And
but he's
4
also got the second War Prism over in the main base. Double Archon's gonna look to try and get some damage on. Roach is ideal for trying to handle this kind of aggression, but still requires a little bit of micro.
Yep. And now it's going to be dealing with it on both sides. It is going to be pretty micro intensive here for PuCK too, because those Archons are usually pretty delicate if you're not paying attention to them. So
that whole position from the Zealots over by the third, able to get a couple more of these kills, but JimRising handling this really, really well, like you said, on both fronts.
Yeah, not bad at all. And he lost 2 additional workers, so I mean, I would take that. I believe JimRising feels pretty good about that. He just has to realize what is going to be next. PuCK going into Disruptors like he was last game. I don't know if they were ever revealed. Remember, he was going into it, but there was like a run by at the third. I don't know if the Disruptors were at the third or if they were at the natural. But either way, it's going to work out for JimRising going for these mutas once again.
Yeah, the mutas could be really effective, but oh god, the double Archon drop in the main base, and with these Zealots reinforcing, he's able to take out one of the Spine Crawlers. Roaches making their way over. They snipe off one of the Archons. Really nice pick off. The Zealots can have a bit of trouble, and one Archon is still left over to try and help deal with the mutas. But the important thing is, I guess, that PuCK has some time to react to the mutas, but losing the War Prism, losing the Archon, it's going to be a painful bit.
Yeah, this is smart by JimRising to use the Roaches to fight those Archons while the Warp Prism is dead, because he has to get something done with these mutas. He got a late 4th himself, and he did try to go for the muta counterattack last time, but PuCK already had like 4 Phoenixes out. So this is well timed for JimRising. He expects it to be Phoenixes again.
16 mutas though, Tempo. 3 cannons are going up, but is that really even enough?
I don't know. I think the mutas are going to get here in time, but with some photon overcharge.
Oh, wow.
Looks like PuCK is going to get enough time to get these Stargates out.
Well, he's going to push things back, but he's already used up most of his photon overcharges. 3 of them have been used. The pylon's just getting focus fired down. The cannons are there to push things back. You know, PuCK's defense, he is losing quite a few workers. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. 11 have gone down so far, but he is actually still alive, and that's more than I thought he would, or better of a situation he's in than I thought he would be.
Yeah, but the cannon goes down. Oh my god, so many probes. Every single one of the probes, except for this lone one at the natural, gets taken out. And that is the kind of damage JimRising is looking for, though. 76 drones to 45 probes now. PuCK is going to be investing into Phoenixes that are going to come a little bit too late, I think. I think the mutas have definitely paid for themselves. And JimRising seems to think so, too, because he's like, okay, might as well get what I can get done here, not waste any more army supply on them.
How do you feel about this situation? I agree that I think the mutas did an exorbitant amount of damage, killing off all the probes in the natural, killing off a few others, but that was also, I think, what, almost 16 mutas? That's 1,600 gas, and now the Phoenix are going to be able to do some counter damage, but oh man, actually, I take it back. JimRising already has a very large number of Hydras. It's actually going to be pretty difficult for PuCK to make this work, but with some Disruptor hits, it's still possible to turn this around.
Yeah, the Disruptors are going to be key. Charge lots are going to be a bit, at least useful now too, because they do help against, they do help against Hydras. It's just a matter of, let's see. The upgrades are going to be finishing here for JimRising.
Oh my god, Will. That's a good way to start evening things up. The Hydra count's actually not even that high anymore. So without the link support, they're going to have a hard time engaging versus PuCK's army. But man, that made a huge difference. These Disruptors provide so much value.
So sick. And another one is here too. So here goes JimRising trying to make a kill move here. But does PuCK have the micro here with the Disruptors to make it happen?
Okay. Gets a couple more of these Hydras. He has another Disruptor shot he can fire out. Doesn't kill that many more, but now the Phoenix can come in, help to defend. They lift up some of these Hydras, and with Photon Overcharge taking out some of the Lings, is this enough? Just barely. It feels like PuCK is missing a few units.
I think so. The Disruptors are on cooldown. They might be back very soon. I don't think Blink is done either, so maybe he does hold on.
And he keeps the Disruptors alive, which is a huge, huge deal. Kills 3 more Hydras with 1 Disruptor. The Phoenixes are still alive as well. If he can just get out enough Zealots to tank at the front line, continue getting these shots off of the Disruptors, he may be able to hold on, but he's out of Photon Overcharges and GG gets called. He's going to tap out.
Wow. Yeah, that was JimRising feeling happy about those mutas that game. You know, like when they go and they kill that whole mineral line and then you follow it up with an attack, then that is how you utilize the the destruction of somebody else's economy because they're going to be
Mhm.
trying to make it back, and then you just are continuing to pump out units right there. So
Yeah.
if he waited for too long and then too many disruptors did come out, and then he gave PuCK a chance to like counter harass and do more, then I think JimRising may have been in a bit of trouble. But he did it perfectly there. Even timed it with 1-1 when the Hydra upgrade was finishing too.
Yeah, it was a really masterclass act from JimRising of identifying that, you know what, the Spire play is going to work this game, doing it again, and then just maintaining that lead. Uh,
Hmm.
got a really close though. PuCK almost managed to pull that back with just some fantastic disruptor hits. And if he had actually been able to defend over there, maybe I wouldn't say that PuCK was ahead, but I would say that he was in a exceptionally good spot. I mean, that one disruptor getting the initial hit off, 16 Hydra kills,
Yeah.
16 of them.
Yeah, that was crazy. You don't see that every day like that, but when it's PuCK and disruptors, I mean, you never can count him out. It's just that he only
Mhm.
had two to work with, but yeah, if he had a bit more time, maybe he would have been able to. And remember, he had to use a lot of the photon overcharge energy on the defense of the mutas too, so that was a bit rough for him. That attack hit so fast.
Yeah. Well, I think we're just waiting to find out what the third map is. I think that, let's see. Looks like it's going to be Ascension Ire. Yes. Ascension Ire,
Yep.
we go for game number 3 now. I want to note, JimRising, after winning that game, goes back up in the points versus PuCK in the total standings. So this becomes actually a much more difficult situation for PuCK now. That one win versus Neeb is going to be very valuable for him because
Mhm.
now at best he can tie with JimRising at 3 points. If he wins this game, he will go up to 3 points. JimRising will remain at 3 points.
Okay.
JimRising's at 3 points right now. Currently PuCK is at 2. So PuCK wants to try and tie things up. If he is able to win this game, he'll be out of reach for Buster. He'll be out of reach for Bio Ice.
Yep.
And he will have to kind of hope and pray that either Semper, Suppy, or Jon Snow just get O2'd, that they don't win a single game this week if he wants to try and stay in the winner's bracket. Otherwise, PuCK's going to be starting off the playoffs in the loser's bracket. And actually, similar thing for JimRising as well. A win here would really, really help him out.
Yeah. I mean, it really would. I think just in general, obviously a win would always, but yeah, you are getting these players that did end up losing some of their first matches when we were playing earlier this last week. Sorry. So,
Mhm.
and I think the week before that as well. So, yeah. Ascension to Ire. I'm trying to think of what was different that game aside from PuCK just not expecting the mutas. Really, it seems right. Like he didn't do a lot of damage with the Archons though either. Like the charge lot Archon
Yeah.
investment didn't really do too much, right?
He was starting to get some good damage done, but
Mm-hmm.
it definitely wasn't the same amount of damage he got done in game number 1. And I think the other big difference is that in game number 1, JimRising was relying purely on that Ling and Queen Force to deal with any of that Archon drop harassment. He felt very unprepared. Game number 2, he had all of the roaches out nice and early on. PuCK
Mm-hmm.
went for like the charge upgrade, which delays, I guess, the push and makes it a little bit less powerful since he doesn't have the Archons until the second War Prism arrives and everything. Um, and so with the roaches there, it's an entirely different game in the defense against that kind of attack. JimRising's defensive capabilities is just so much stronger versus the Archons. You can't get that continuous pick away free damage. You maybe hit some roaches, but then they just kind of back up. They're tanky. They can take a couple of hits from those Archons.
Yeah.
I do wonder if that is just going to be a shutdown kind of build order for JimRising to just continue going for if PuCK goes for it again.
Seriously, like I think the map helps it too because on Abyssal Reef, PuCK can slide into the he slides into the mineral line from the right of the natural
Mm-hmm.
and can kind of play around right there and then pop out and be free. But he has to kind of dive in a lot more risky, I think, on Mech Depot. So the roaches have a lot more room to maneuver and actually start picking at the Archons before they can just pop in, target a few drones, and pop out. They actually have to dive into the queen range, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it definitely worked out a lot better. it worked out a lot better for JimRising on Mech Depot than it did
Yeah, I
on
would on Abyssal, yeah, absolutely. But as soon as I think we're just waiting on PuCK to return from his little break, as he did want one. But yeah,
I like
Ascension
he's waiting
Ire,
for Puff.
waiting for PuCK.
Not Puck,
Yeah.
but Puff.
Ascension Ire, you're talking about that kind of lip over by the natural where you can bounce back between the natural base and over, I guess, just to the right of it with where JimRising had spawned on Abyssal Reef. And I'm sort of looking at Ascension Ire, trying to see and judge, like, oh, can you do something like that? I guess you can kind of do it from just the south side or the north side of the natural on this map. There are some kind of cool places you can do things, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. JimRising really seems to strongly believe in this Spire play. I almost actually feel as though JimRising is going for the Spire play, not even reactionary necessarily. It's more just seems like that's kind of his game plan, and he's just trying to stay alive to get up the Spire.
Yeah, I think he just doesn't like Warp Prisms.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, I feel like he's like, dude, get that thing out of here because, if you let PuCK use that Warp Prism and, freely pop in and out, he's going to be in for a world of hurt. So, yeah, especially because he's been going for roaches, right? A lot of Zergs nowadays have been rushing up to Hydras, and that's the way that they deal with the Warp Prism or any kind of air units that Protoss have. But JimRising been opening up with roaches, and he hasn't been making a ton of queens by any means. So I guess Muta is just the way that he is anti-air.
All right.
And then counter her.
Here we go. We're going to find out Ascension Ire. The game is about to get started. And there we go.
Right.
Game is finally underway as the lobby, at least, the countdown has begun. But game number 3, remember, again, this is going to be a very important match determining who is going to be in the bottom 4 seeds that goes to the losers bracket in the playoffs next week, and who is going to be able to be up there in the winners bracket. Very, very important match for both of them.
Yeah. And the fact that it is 1-1 makes it even more exciting. They both can take games off of each other. And coming onto this map too, we'll see how it goes, man. I feel like the first map was a little bit weird when JimRising did go for the gas pool hatch. But yeah, PuCK was, not letting him take that base either. So,
well, here we go. We're going to be starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, top of the orange Zerg player. Give it up for JimRising.
And on the bottom right-hand corner, it is the green Protoss player from Root Gaming. It is PuCK. Puff.
I really like, by the way, there was the small thing that we didn't really touch on for a while, but JimRising was very in the dark about what kind of aggression he was going to be up against in that last game, especially given how game 1 went. It was this weird, very uncommon kind of Templar archives, like very quickly tech coming out from PuCK, but he did a great job of just denying the scout, and he's also been doing a great job of just sending out these very early probe scouts, trying to annoy his opponent, delaying any kind of natural base from coming out. I like the way PuCK has actually been playing this out from a kind of strategic standpoint.
Yeah, it's like one of the best things you can do as a Protoss player, just to get in the head of your opponent, mess around with them, not let them take that hatchery easily. And even JimRising, he's hiding the drone in the bottom corner of his main, just waiting. And PuCK is like, nope, I'm waiting for you to come on down.
He did this on Abyssal Reef too, and it wasn't until the probe went up into the main that JimRising finally sent his worker down to the natural expansion to try and build something. So
oh man,
we'll see how long he waits. He's actually losing a lot.
He's losing a ton of mining time. Yeah, exactly.
It really may not seem like that big of a deal. Oh god, JimRising actually finally just sends it back to mining.
Oh, that hurts.
That was easily at least, I would say, 40 or so minerals worth of mining. That's an extra drone JimRising basically just lost out on. You might get the hatchery down in time. You will, but that's still a very big delay.
Yeah. Oh, that's like a really, really big delay. And PuCK didn't even invest a pylon. So usually you can kind of find comfort in it by saying like, okay, well, he put down a pylon in order to, slow his build down and try to slow me down, but at least he was slowed down at the same time. Here, PuCK is just like, waiting. He loses mining time with the pro, but it doesn't even matter because that other drone was just hanging out there too. So definitely a bit of a win there for PuCK. whether it's like a mind game thing too. Like, all right, JimRising is probably going to be waiting for me.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh, the Adept is gonna be coming out, but the Lings will make their way into the main base because PuCK definitely playing a little bit on the greedier side, waiting for that extra gateway to go up, as this was again a pull first. The Lings come out a little bit faster. PuCK gonna have to deal with this, and he may actually, oh, he's not using his Adept right now. He's not sending it across the map either. Okay, looks like he may have just been needing a bit of that extra APMs. He's also pulling back his worker that was scouting.
Yo, I think this is a really, really weird position for JimRising. It's nearly the 3-minute mark, and he still has not been able to put down a third base or opted to. And when he goes over there, his Lings are already across the map. PuCK was not. Oh, he is paying attention, and this is going to be so annoying. Oh, no. No, you didn't.
Wow, JimRising was also only now starting up some Lings to actually kill off that pylon. It's going to be an incredible delay. The Queens are not going to have the creep spread to get over there anytime soon. PuCK did cancel the pylon already, and the probe is going back into the natural of the scout, so the third will eventually get down. But this is, and when we talk about like normally timed thirds, even the later end of thirds, usually you want it down by 3 minutes, and this is 45 seconds late.
Yeah, this is a very late third. So if I was gonna say, if JimRising is gonna try to just go for a regular macro style, he is so far behind. Like, it's not even funny how far behind he is right now when it comes down to drone count, when it comes down to base count. So I am a little bit worried for him, and the fact that he did go for the lair first makes me think that he's gonna try something a little bit cheeky. So if he's able to go ahead, try to do something weird, even like a Nidus Worm, I think it might be better for him than to try to just straight up out macro PuCK here. But at least PuCK isn't going for the third just yet. So
I would agree with you if I had not seen the first 2 games. But because we've seen what JimRising has just been so adamant about doing, I actually wonder if he's just going to be trying to go for a really quick 2-base Spire play with a couple of Roaches to help defend, and then just go straight up into, let me get out of Spire and get out of Mutas to take care of the Warp Prism harassment, finally shut it down, just go across the map and get some damage done.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about how successful that'll be, but PuCK is going for the charge upgrade again. He's going for a pretty quick Templar Archives, and his own third is pretty late. Yeah,
this is true. Like, I thought that the third base would have been taken by PuCK by now, but he's just now going to be going for it. And that's actually really good for JimRising because he realized that his third was going to be late. So he ended up actually saturating the gases at his natural pretty quickly. So usually you use the third to get that extra mineral income and then try to drone up pretty heavily, but he's decided to just go and get a full saturation on these main in the net. Oh.
Okay, Roach is prepared in the main. There's going to be absolutely no chance of these Zealots going in right now and getting too much damage done, but Ling's over by the third base of PuCK, trying to go for a cancel. Gets a cancel on the pylon, so no Foots and Overcharge is going to be available for a bit, but only 2 Lings left over. The Mothership Core should be able to take care of them. Still an annoying amount of damage being done right now.
Yeah. I guess JimRising did a good number there with those Lings, and they're not really going to help against small or against this amount of Zealots and also from Archon. So yeah, I definitely agree him using those Lings in order to at least get PuCK's attention away so that he's not taking all this damage right now. So he's got himself up to about 55 drones. He's dropping down the Spire again. And yeah, PuCK's third is just now about 3/4 of the way done. So yeah, I think taking the gases at the natural was a good idea there in order to save up some of the gas, because I think the real issue in the first game was that JimRising didn't have the gas. He didn't have the economy to even afford the Mutas here.
Yeah, just because he's taken so much damage in that first game, but now he has the Roaches, so he hasn't taken that much damage. He has the economy to make those Mutas.
And PuCK isn't getting that ridiculous amount of damage either. He's getting some good damage at the third, but it's not yeah, massive. It's not game ending. It's definitely recoverable damage here, but PuCK is reading the Spire already, as he did see it.
Yeah, already making the Phoenix. Actually, this might even just be a bit of a reaction to those previous games, saying, well, okay, we've already seen the Spire, so I'm just going to start up these Stargates a bit earlier on in the previous games. These Zealots are buying actually a lot of time as well, killing off a ton of these Roaches. The Archon's coming in, killing off a few more of these workers, and the Archons have a lot of shields left over. May not seem like a big deal usually because they're just going to regenerate those, but with the mutas popping out, those shields and how long those Archons can fight against the mutas is going to be a very, very important factor in whether or not the Spore Prism escapes.
Oh, man. Well, I believe that's why PuCK makes 2 of them. One is the decoy, the other one does have the good cargo in it. And there's enough Phoenixes out. There's only 3, actually. And PuCK is only making 1 at a time now, so he's gonna just be a bit more defensive with them. No,
I still feel like even just 4 Phoenix, I think, are enough to push back mutas oftentimes. It's not ideal, but especially with the Archons over there, okay, losing the sentry is not ideal, but the mutas should theoretically all potentially go down here with perfect micro.
Yeah, there's definitely enough Phoenix in the sky. And yeah, 2 in production, I think he should be relatively safe from the muta threat. So it depends how much PuCK is going to invest in it. How much does he think that JimRising is going to commit to the mutas too? Because it looks like he's just now getting off of it, but he's only now putting down the Hydra Den. Whereas in the last game, it seemed like he was already on the way to producing them.
Yeah, a bit less of a muta investment this game. He only lost 1 muta, and he's got 10 left over. So he's only made 11 as opposed to the 16 last game.
Yeah.
So that extra gas, it does add up a little bit, and it means that there's that slower Hydra Den. It also not killing off like last game, 24 of PuCK's workers in exchange for those mutas. He's going to be able to keep the mutas alive, but PuCK's in a much, much better position this game.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think it's a little bit more of a even, I don't know if even is the right word, but it doesn't seem like a one-sided game anymore where like PuCK just lost 20-something workers or 30-something workers. Like they're very, very good at dealing with the follow-ups from each other. And I guess the only real difference here is that PuCK is going to have a bit of an upgrade lead for a little bit. But JimRising is working on 2 upgrades at a time, and he's going to be going into a Hydra Bane composition.
Okay. More typical composition to see from Zerg players, but okay, Muta's making their way back into the main base. The Phoenix very far out of position right now. A lot of workers going to end up falling. This is some really good value.
Yep, 11 workers so far, forces a photon overcharge, and he's getting even more, but I think he's going to sacrifice these Mutas. He's going to be max soon, so he doesn't want to have these in his army, and at least he's getting good damage with them. Not as good as before, but I think you could take that.
You know, I actually think that JimRising is probably pretty happy with that. 17 workers, even if PuCK is still on a decent worker count right now, 17 workers for the mutas that were kind of dead weight at this point. I think he's going to be happy. Like you said, he's getting close to maxing out. He's actually up almost 50 supply right now, and if he goes to this big Ling Roach Hydra bust, ooh, that's really nice.
That's really, PuCK not being as careful with his Phoenixes as he should be. They have a lot of energy here, and they can actually lift up, but it's going to be a gigantic Roach Hydra army versus what looks to be Immortal, Sentry, Archon, and I say Templar for the Storm. Phoenixes are just there, kind of. I don't know how much effectiveness they're going to get, but...
Okay. Well, kills off a couple of these Roaches, softens things up, uses a bit of the force field energy, but oh man, this is going to be the big problem. He's very far out of position to defend his third base, warping in some Zealots, but this is a massive force and in a really good position.
Yep. He has a lot of surface area here, and PuCK has to travel a very far distance in order to defend it here. And JimRising is attacking on 2 fronts. He has some Roaches by the other base there on the 4th. And yeah. PuCK, he didn't lose that much though. It's just that it almost looked like it would have been really bad.
Yeah, and you know what? The Phoenix actually providing a bit of extra scouting vision right now, so PuCK can try and reposition his army a bit better. Now his Templars are split up between the 2 sides, so he can toss out a couple of good storms, but I just move into the 3rd base, looking to get some damage done. Now they're in on top of things, so really could actually take out that base, and at the same time, JimRising moves in, signs off all the High Templar. Yep,
but on the other side of the map, JimRising gonna get hit by a couple of Zealots here from a Warp Prism that PuCK decided to fly across, but can PuCK actually hold on to his 4th? I don't think he's gonna hold on to his 3rd, that's at the top. And the 4th is gonna go down too. Oh my god. Both bases are gonna go down here, and this is horrible for PuCK.
Yeah, PuCK losing a huge amount of his economy right now. He's got some of the workers still alive. He's going after the lurker den, but oh god, it's just barely gonna end up surviving. He warps in some more zealots, but no, to no avail. The zealots mostly end up falling. The lurker den survives, and PuCK just he's got out a lot of morals.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
Yeah,
definitely. He's kind of all in.
I think so. Yeah, I mean everything kind of went wrong right there. Even the probes are coming here for Ravi.
Oh no. High Templar's getting caught. It loses all of the High Templars. Only gets one storm out. GG. It's gonna effectively be called with a congrats.
Congrats.
JimRising goes up 2-1 and is gonna secure himself a solid 4 points in the playoff stage.
Not bad, not the bad. So JimRising, you know, he edges it out. He's able to get it done. Definitely would boost him for a bit, you know, just feeling better, especially after that first game where he was like, man, I get killed by a bunch of Archons and then I try to counter and be defended like so perfectly, but to come back from that feels good,
certainly
man.
Not easy. Yeah.
Feels good, man.
Well,